Hey man, Enchanted Pete's. I'm here today to talk about the book that I have started working with this each week, which is The Great Work, which is about working self-knowledge and healing through the wheel of the year. So obviously it started with Yule. This is the first week, and the first week is entitled Mythological Reflection on the Birth of the Wonder Child, which of course is appropriate for this time of year, considering that we just had solstice and also Christmas. So this time of year, obviously, solstice happens. For those of you in the southern hemisphere, it's summer solstice. For us here in the northern, it's winter solstice. And winter solstice, it gets darker and darker, and then we have the darkest day, and then it starts getting light again, although that isn't usually noticed for a couple of days. So that's why the ancients Romans celebrated on December 25th the Feast of the Unconquered Sun, or Sol Invictus. And that is also why Christians celebrate Jesus' birth on that day, because the Romans thought of him as another sun god, a dying and rising, resurrecting God. So it made sense. People didn't know when Jesus' birthday actually was. So as people became Christianized, and as Christians wanted to celebrate it, they picked that day to celebrate Jesus' birth, which makes perfect sense. And, in the Christian, I don't want to use mythology in the sense of it's not true, because I know for believers of Christianity it is, but in the Christian theology, Jesus is considered the light of the world. So it makes sense that they would celebrate his birthday on a day where you're starting to notice things getting lighter. It was also December 25th, and solstice is often associated with sun gods and birthdays of sun gods. The sun is being reborn, so it makes perfect sense that is a day when people celebrate the rebirth and renewal of the year in a lot of ways. So the first chapter talked about the birth of the wonder child as sort of symbolic of the rebirth of ourselves, and also this time of darkness, this dark time of year, to reflect on times in our lives when things were dark or when things were very chaotic. And so I kind of reflected on sometimes there's a period in my life during my early 20s where I was kind of moving around a lot before I got kind of really settled. And that was a very uncertain, chaotic kind of time for me. Same with when I was getting divorced, and there was a lot of things going on with that. So again, a very uncertain time. And to reflect on that and how that made you feel. But the thing with all those chaotic times is that they led to rebirth, and they led to new things coming in, and to remember that even if we're going through a chaotic time, it eventually leads to rebirth and to renewal. And I pulled a card to kind of talk about this stuff, and what I pulled fittingly, and I was using my oracle card for the month, which is the Mythic Oracle. I pulled Pontus, the Unknown. Now, Pontus is not a very famous Greek-Roman god. This is a Titan, actually. So it's a very old god. It's a very old sea god, and he is the god of sort of like the unknown and the chaos, and the primordial sea. And so again, that sort of reminds us that even when things are completely in chaos, we don't know what's going on, we don't know what's going to happen next, we'll always reach the shore. There's, the sea doesn't go on, the unknown doesn't go on forever. It eventually organizes itself into something. So that's an important sort of thing to remember. And then they also ask questions about what symbols speak to you of optimism and hope. And I think that this is a time of year that often speaks to many people of optimism and hope. We have symbols like, all the Christmas lights that people are putting out, and symbols of rebirth, obviously the Christian symbol of the rebirth of Jesus, but Santa Claus is a symbol of hope for a lot of people too. The idea that there's this spirit that gives gifts and is the spirit of generosity for people is a very hopeful type figure. So for me personally, this time of year is a very hopeful one. But also, when I think of symbols of hope, I think of light, obviously, but then I think of things that make me feel kind of childlike too. I think about like rainbows, and I think about unicorns, just things that are very innocent. And angels are another thing that give people a lot of hope as well, and are very hopeful, symbolic symbol. And so I think of things like that when I think of hope and putting those symbols into my life. And it says, what specific traits do you feel about yourself are unique and special? So it gets you to reflect on the inner child within, the divine child within you. What makes you unique and special? What's special about you, or what do you feel is special about yourself? And when I think of that, I think of creativity and imagination. I think about I think I'm fairly smart and humorous, and think about all the things that kind of make you feel good about yourself and what you feel is unique about you. And then it asks what difference you want to make in the lives of others and in what ways you celebrate this time of year, which is, I think it's really good to think about not only, how do you, have hope for yourself, but how do you bring hope to others? And how would you like to make a difference? How would you like to make people feel? And it doesn't have to be this big grand thing where, saving the world or curing cancer or whatever, which are all great things. But just even, do you want to bring smiles to people's faces? Do you want to make people laugh? Do you want to make people think? How do you want to leave people feeling? And I think that's a really important thing to look at. And then finally, it asks how you celebrate this time of year and what celebrations are meaningful to you. I think a lot of times we do things at this time of year because we've always done them, but I think it's important to think about what is actually meaningful to you and what makes you feel good rather than what you feel obliged to do. You don't have to do everything every year. So it was very interesting to do the journaling for sure. Next week is elemental reflection on earth and the active reflection on breathing, because the element for this cycle is earth, and I guess one of the tasks is to breathe, to ground yourself. So I'll be talking about that next week. If anyone else is working with this book at all, please put some comments below. I'd love to hear what you think and what your thoughts were on the first week, or if anyone has any questions about this book at all, I hope I can answer. Once again, love to hear everyone's comment. I hope everyone had a really great Christmas and Boxing Day, Hanukkah, Yule, whatever it is you celebrate or don't. I just hope you had a really great holiday, and that, even if things are chaotic, I know this time of year isn't always great for everybody, that you still at least, had your loved ones around you and had an okay time. So I'll talk to you all next time. Bye.